Welcome, everybody, to Football Discussion Daily. My name is Joe, here with the co-host,
TGO.
CGO, or George. Today is the 14th of February, 2026, aka Valentine's Day. I have a Valentine's Day 2025 story for you. On Valentine's Day 2025, it was a Friday. George's favorite team, Chelsea, played at Brighton, and as soon as they lost 3-0, led by Enzo Maresca, and as soon as the final whistle ended, I texted George, Happy Valentine's Day. And he texted me back, Happy Valentine's Day. He knew what I meant. He knew I was trash talking to him about that Chelsea result. But, that's it was just a fun time for me. I was glad I was get to wish George a happy Valentine's Day. And Chelsea did not lose this year on Valentine's Day. They won yesterday. But a couple teams did lose. Some results for today. In the FA Cup, there's a bunch of games. I'll read off the couple big ones. Liverpool beat Brighton 3-0. Villa lost to Newcastle 1-3. Mansfield Town beat Burnley 2-1. Wrexham beat Ipswich 1-0. There's a couple other big results. Real Madrid won 4-1 in the league. Inter beat Juventus 3-2. And RC Lens is atop League One over PSG, despite having, I guess, 1/10, 1/5 of the budget, and PSG winning every trophy possible last year. So a lot of big news today. George, what do you want to talk about first?
Well, I would just like to commend the ROC Lawrence team for defeating Paris FC today 5-0, and now they are top of the French Ligue 1. At least that will make it at least a bit competitive. Though they were at the top before they were displaced by PSG. Now they are back to the top again because PSG lost to Reims, I think on Friday or so. So that means they are now on top. At least it will make it a bit competitive instead of making it look as if it's just a PSG team. So with the competition, it will make the French League One at least a bit more interesting instead of people calling it the Farmers League. So this is a good one for RC Lawrence. I hope they can continue at least challenging for the title. That will make the French League more interesting.
Yeah, I've seen quite a bit of League One games. I went to France, I went to a couple, but I've also caught a couple just on TV. And I think that the Farmers League is quite I don't feel like it's a good nickname. I feel like there's so much talent in this league, and like a lot of the Premier League players are bought from League One. I would guess that is the biggest source of players for Premier League. There's so much talent in this league. France just has a huge population that's all football crazy. They have some very good academies. Provide the opportunity for players from 18 to 21 to develop that the UK does not, just because there's so much more competition for places. But the French League One, I've been very impressed with. Lens still. I'm looking at Lens roster. The only player I recognize on this team is Alan Saint Maximin, who was on Newcastle a couple years ago. I'm looking down their roster. I'm sure I'm looking at several. Uzan Edouard was on uh, uh, Crystal Palace, I think. But I'm sure I'm looking at several players who will be very successful in the Premier League going forward. I'm looking at a lot of players who will have great careers. But I wish I followed League One more because it is an exciting league.
Do you think League One has been underestimated, has been rated below where they are supposed to be rated?
I mean, I think that there's a clear top five. I would argue there's a clear two best leagues in the world. That's Spain and England, and then there's the clear next three: Germany, France, and Italy. And then there's another drop off between the next tier of leagues, which would be like Portugal and Netherlands, among others. And so yeah, I do feel like people are like, oh, Portugal's better. Oh, you know, uh, Netherlands is better, but in reality, PSG would walk any league in the world except for probably Premier League. They'd win La Liga more often than not. I mean, they'd win La Liga quite often. They'd win Italy most years. They'd be very competitive in the UK, in England as well. They wouldn't win every single year, but they'd win quite often. They're a very good team historically. I feel like there's three teams in Portugal that are better than most teams in France. but almost every other team in France has a bigger budget, more budget for players than the non-big three teams do in Portugal. Almost every single team in France has a bigger budget than the non-big three teams in uh, Netherlands, and so like these academies draw from much larger populations than the Dutch and Portuguese academies, and you can tell in the level of play, and so I think it's an exciting league. It's a shame that it's been dominated by one team for the vast majority of my watching career. What do you think, George? Do you feel like do you think that's a correct assessment?
I think your assessment is right to some extent, but I believe the French league has they've not given them the accolades they deserve. Because if you look at it, among the top five league, they are rated the fifth. I have some kind of different opinion on that, because that league the kind of game they play there is very, very interesting. They play good football in that league, and they have very quality players. And you see, most of the players that comes to the Premier League from the French league, they've really done very well from that league. Eden Hazard was from that league when he was playing for Lille. He came there and he succeeded. The likes of Oliver Giroud. We've had lots of players from the French league who came to the Premier League and they proved themselves. So it's a league that has very quality players, but I feel they've not gotten the accolade they deserve. I would rate the French league even above the Italian league, if you ask me. I would rate it above the Italian league. I will even rate it above the German league, if you ask me,
Hmm.
based on what I've seen them doing, at least in the recent time. So, but sometimes this rating, there are people who have given the responsibility to give requirements for rating different leagues in Europe. So there's nothing we can do about that.
I mean, stylistically, it's quite similar to the Premier League. Stylistically, it's very like in terms of if I were to describe the Premier League stylistically, there's a lot of energy. Like guys are always running. There's always a physical battle for every single ball. Spain and is much more similar to Italy stylistically in the sense that it's very slow, very tech. I mean, slower compared to Premier League. It's technical. The guys are all very much know exactly where the spaces are. It's more like chess than it is. It's less frenetic, and those guys aren't necessarily as physically talented, but I feel like mentally strong. It's just as mentally strong and mentally sharp, but the game they don't need to be balls to the wall for 90 minutes, so to speak. And French league is very much physical. I'd say MLS is just as physical. It's obviously lower quality than France, and France is lower quality than England, but stylistically very very similar. Um, Germany is closer to France, England, but I'd say it's more speed, less actual strength in terms of that physicality, from what I've seen. But they're all great leagues. So I think it's great that there's such a diverse set of leagues and a diverse set of players. And yeah, I'm excited to see more of French League One this year. George, let's move on to FA Cup results. Um, I mentioned three Premier League results, and one is Wrexham, who gets a lot of exposure recently. Did any of these results surprise you? Did you have a favorite goal of the day? Aston Villa got wrecked, but that was due to a red card.
Yes, 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 yes.
Do you have a standout goal, a standout player from today's action?
For me, that red card really affected the whole game, but it was a careless tackle from the goalkeeper. He made a very big blunder because there
Completely
was no point.
deserved.
Yes, there was no point for that. And then that costed the team because after they had that red card, then Newcastle started mounting pressure on them because the red card came towards the ending of the first half. So second half, Newcastle were fully in control of the game. In fact, Newcastle were supposed to even get a penalty because look at Dean, his hand touched the ball from a cross. He was in the 18-yard box when that happened. But the VAR, there's no VAR from the first, second, third round, and fourth round of the FA Cup.
And this
So
was the fourth round.
there was no opportunity to review that incident. But good enough for Newcastle, they were given a free kick from that situation, And then that was what led to the goal that Sandro Tonelli scored. It was a very beautiful strike, even though there was a deflection that made the ball to go into the net. And he also scored another brilliant goal. The second goal was also a stunner, a
Yep.
very powerful shot from outside the 18-yard box. And then later we had Watemade scoring a goal. This is first goal since I think after Christmas,
For
because
Christmas,
he
yeah.
hasn't scored since. The last time he scored was before Christmas.
Yeah.
But good one for him. He was able to at least get a goal in this game. Hopefully that will boost his confidence and he will be able to at least score more goals for Newcastle. And this game might help Newcastle to maybe regain their form in the Premier League. So it was a very good result for Newcastle. At least they are now in the fifth round. The draw will be done on Monday. They will get to know the next team they will be playing the fifth
Yeah.
round
We'll see.
of the FA Cup.
And
But one good,
I
okay,
think I think both teams, Newcastle and Aston Villa, are kind of okay with this result. Newcastle is not really going to qualify for Champions League. I don't. I think that ship has sailed. I'm surprised because a month ago I thought they had the inside track for it, but now they're pretty far behind. Aston Villa very much, I feel like, is in danger of slipping back. They had a good game week midweek, but could slip back. I don't think they're that so far ahead that they can relax. But I think that they're still in the Champions League and extra games with the FA Cup might be a hindrance to them. I think they'd like to go on a Champions League run and qualify for the Premier League, for the Champions League via the league. And I feel like the extra games are not exactly helping. And Newcastle, last year they got a big boost from that trophy. I think that they've had one trophy the last 30 years outside of championship, which I don't really count league titles. But they should go forward. One surprising thing, George, for me from today's action, obviously Mansfield Town, League One beating a Premier League team is big, but Burnley is probably a upper championship team really this season. But one thing that really surprised me, I thought Salah had a really weak season, but I thought he was great today. I did watch the
yes, yes,
Liverpool
yes, yes,
game.
yes. Yeah, it was the
Not
game.
like he didn't he still can't beat a guy that's different than Salah from 3 or 4 years ago. But if he can adapt like he did today, the ball into Szoboszlai for Szoboszlai's goal is fantastic. It was a several cross that he one timed it into the path of a sprinting Szoboszlai for a one touch finish. It was beautiful. He created just this much space for the PK to win it, and he did great. And there are several other times where he just passed it because he's knows the game, understands the game in a very dangerous spaces. So he is very impressive against a Premier League team. I hope that'll translate going forward because I think obviously he's a very talented guy. And a lot of guys as they go older need to translate their game. And I think Salah's at that point, but I think he's good enough that he can still be a very effective player. So that was surprising for me. It's the best I've seen him play all season. And yeah, just one of the best games I've seen Liverpool play all season. I don't know if Brighton's been this bad for a while, but the results have not been good for a while. George, is there any players outside of the game we just talked about, Villa Newcastle, that stuck out for you in the FA Cup action today?
No, for me, I was very impressed with Mohamed Salah today because I think since the season started, I haven't seen him play the way he played today. Today, he was very, very good. Even you can see, apart from the assist he gave to Dominic Szoboszlai that led to the second goal, the third goal, he was able to beat the defender and then he was able to get into the 18-yard box, try to beat Pascal Gross, who fouled him, and then he got a penalty, and that penalty was well converted by him. That's the kind of penalty penalty conversion that Mohamed Salah is known for. He always strikes it with a very good force, and I think today it was very impressive, and I will rate this as maybe his best performance in a very long time. I hope he can keep up with this maybe till the end of the season. But I feel after this season, he will most likely maybe move to the Saudi League because there are clubs in the Saudi League who are already coming for him. What do you
They've
think
been
about that?
they've been coming for him for years. Most Salah, first off, George, just because he's Muslim doesn't mean he has any affinity with Saudi. It's a completely different country. Like he is very at home with England. His daughters are born there. I think his daughters are like 7 and 8 or something like that. They were born early in his Liverpool tenure. he has a life in England. He he very much is a competitor. I don't feel like I think he wants money, but I don't think he's as money driven as some of these players who have gone to Saudi. I could eat my words. Liverpool might want to cash in on them. Like, I don't think Darwin Nunez wanted to go to Saudi. I think Liverpool's like, you're going to Saudi because we're getting 20 extra $million. I think something like that could happen. But I think Mo Salah definitely believes he's good enough. I think that you can see that in the way I don't think desire has been an issue for him this season. I don't think anybody's questioning that. I think it's just more, I think his ego is getting in the way of him changing his game a bit. And I think that his insistence on playing 90 minutes is also getting in the way because he threw a fit when Slot tried to sub him, and Slot has kept him on, I feel like, a lot longer than his form has warranted. And so I don't think he'll go to Saudi, but I could eat my words. Who knows? I think he has a lot to do in Europe. He's still, he's at the age where Ronaldo moved to Juventus and won 2 league titles in 3 years after this. Like, he's not as good as Ronaldo, but like 33 is not a death sentence.
But what I feel maybe is he doesn't have that energy. He can't keep up with that energy that can match the Premier League at the moment. Probably maybe going to a country like Saudi Arabian League to play might help him because the intensity of the Premier League is higher than what you have in the Saudi League. That's what I feel.
Yeah, but like, these guys know that the Saudi League isn't good. These guys are still competitive. He knows that he has, 2 years left where he can play in the Premier League. Like, can he be the starting winger for Liverpool for 90 minutes twice a week, every single week at 34 years old? No. But he can absolutely put in a shift in most teams in Europe. And I think deep down he's a competitor and wants to do that as long as he can.
But don't you think, based on his being let's say, a legend of Liverpool, do you think he will be willing to maybe sit on the bench while maybe coming in as a substitute? Don't you think that would be a very big problem for him? Wouldn't it be better he goes to another league where he can at least play for 90 minutes or so?
No, I think Arne Slot's telling him right now, he's like, you got to accept that you can't play 90 minutes twice a week anymore. Next year, you can still add a lot to this squad, but you have to accept that, or you and your agent, you go and find $75 million for this club, we'll let you go. That's what Arne Slot's telling him behind the scenes. In front of the cameras, Arne Slot's praising Salah. All this stuff is happening behind the scenes. But Arne Slot wants him next season because he can finish as good as anybody. Like, Salah is one of the best finishers in Premier League history. He's one of the smartest. He understands where the spaces are. He can still... That pass that he laid out to Szoboszlai, not many players can do that. I mean, very few. Who else in the Premier League can do that? 5 players? It was incredible. And that kind of stuff goes a long way. And if you add a winger that has pace that's not Cody Gakpo on the other side, Liverpool is a very dangerous team with Mo Salah in the team next year. And I feel like he's going to want to be a part of that. But we'll see. That's why they do this. Let me close out today's session with a couple questions for our audience. Number 1, is Mo Salah going to go to Saudi this summer? Number 2, how does France compare to other leagues? Is George and I's assessment right? Is it in that top 5? Number 3, what was the most surprising FA Cup result, and what was the best goal today? We'll be back tomorrow talking about more FA Cup. Have a good one.